In this short video, I'm just going to continue on with a little bit more about bindery operations. There's many things that happen in the bindery. Some of the common ones are lamination. Um, that's where a thicker plastic is laminated over the paper to protect it against dirt, humidity, and wear and tear. Um, Varnish can also be done in the bindery. Varnish also can be done on press. If it's done on a press, they can do it right in line with the printing. That's called a wet varnish. A dry varnish is where they let the paper dry and then they run the paper through a press again to add the varnish. You usually get better results that way. Or a third option is to run it through different, not necessarily a press, but just a different machine that only applies varnish. And there's different types of varnish. There's oil print varnishes, and there's UV varnishes, which need to have ultraviolet light to curate them, and they have different qualities to them. So when working with your print provider, to ask them about what varnish capabilities they have. Die cutting is where blades are used to cut shapes in the paper. So it can cut shapes around the outside edges. It can be used to cut shapes through the middle, such as peek through windows in a folder, or if they're printing display cards that need to hang on a rack, there might be a hole cut in the card so it fits on a rack. Die cuts are razor blades that are made, custom made for the design, and we've gone over how to make the blades in class, or how to make the designs in class to make the blades. But die cutting is pretty popular as well. It's not too expensive. Embossing and debossing. Embossing is when the image is raised up out of the paper, and a deboss is where the image is pressed down into the paper. Usually they require two dies to press the paper, and you need to be working with paper that's fairly thick. And your print provider can guide you with the minimum size papers or thicknesses of papers for quality embossing and debossing. Another process is called thermography, and this is kind of a texturing process to where it feels like a texture has been applied to the ink. And so an ink is applied on the paper, a slow drying ink, and then a colorless powder gets sprayed onto it. It sticks to the ink. The rest of the powder gets vacuumed off, and then heat is applied, and it kind of melts the powder into the ink and gives it the texture. Foil stamping is similar to emboss and deboss. It usually has just one die, and it creates a deboss effect. So when foil stamping, the image gets pressed down into the material. So basically there's a thin foil material that's laid over the cover material, and then a die comes down and presses into it, and with the heat and the pressure and the small amount of adhesive on the backside of the foil, it gets adhered to the material. And so there's some limits to foil stamping, such as the thickness of the lines you can use in foil stamping. You don't get like photographic quality. It's usually used for letters or solid logos and so forth. Anyways, this is really just a basic overview of some of the processes that can happen. There's a lot more that I haven't touched on, and whatever your mind can come up with as a designer, you can always bring that to the printer, and the bindery usually finds a way to get it done. Anyways, hope you enjoyed that. Thanks.